Well, hello. You're back for some reason, or you found me for the first time, in which case, apologies in advance. If you're new here, what I do is I watch a movie and I sit down and I ramble about it immediately following that movie. I have some very brief, kind of crappy notes, but I don't have a script, and I do it in one take for better or worse. The goal is to be as natural as possible. That said, spoiler alert, if you don't want spoilers, skip ahead on the timestamp to the part that says thoughts, which should almost always not be spoilery. If for whatever reason there's a spoiler, I will put in brackets spoilers. So there you go. What are we watching today, or what did I watch today, because you didn't watch it with me? The Void from 2016. A little bit of Eldritch in my life I need, It's been a while. So that's what I'm watching. Let us get into it. So I'll give you a quick synopsis. Well, I say quick, but let's be realistic. I try to, but I never succeed. So start off with some house. Some dude runs out of the house. Some woman runs out after him. Bunch of hooded figures come out, shoot the woman. The guy runs off and escapes. And they say, "You won't get far." Cool. These cloaks have a little triangle on their face. It's kind of like Squid Games meets the KKK. That's terrible, but that's what it looks like, essentially. Well, they're not pointed, so no, not KKK. Like an executioner, but in white. He has that. Well, it doesn't matter what they look like. Anyway, delightful. So then we cut to an officer named, he's like a deputy or something, Daniel Carter. So I'm going to call him Dan, because that'll be easier. So Dan's in his car. He's sort of just, I guess, killing time before the end of his shift. Looking for speeding people, maybe? I don't know. Anyway, Buddy comes stumbling out of the forest. Obviously, the officer's like, "Dude, you good?" Like, radio says, "Okay, I'm going to be a little bit. I found some drugged up guy or drunk guy or something." Anyway, the guy's freaking out and he's injured. And so he's like, "Oh, shit. Okay, we better get to the hospital." So he radios, "Where's the nearest hospital?" They tell him one and he goes down. Brings the guy into the hospital. The nurses tend to him immediately. We're introduced to his estranged wife, ex-wife, partner. I don't know. Anyway, Allison is one of the nurses who had been with him at some point. So to save some time, because I'm probably going to forget to mention it, in other words, the backstory between those two are they had a kid, and the kid did not make it, and it caused relationship issues, therefore split. I don't know if they're still married or if they're divorced or if they ever were married, but that's the story. Probably tells you in the movie, but I'm an idiot and probably didn't pay attention enough. So there you go. Anyway, that's their backstory. So there's, they're not at each other's throats or anything. They don't hate each other. It's kind of just like, "Oh, nice to see you again" type deal or whatever. So that's fine. We also have the other nurse who is named, what was her name? Beverly. She's not super important, but that was her name. And then we have like a nurse in training by the name of Kim. So Kim, I think one of her boyfriends is the patient or something. So before her shift, they're hanging out and talking, whatever. And anyway, she starts her shift and this guy comes in or whatever, and they're taking care of her and everything. And yeah, everything seems good. And he goes to check on, I don't remember. Anyway, long story short, he walks in and I guess Kim's boyfriend or friend or partner or whatever is now dead with a knife in his eye, and Beverly's standing over him. And Dan's like, "What the fuck? Hey, calm down." She's like, "This isn't my face." And he's like, what are you talking about? Like, also, hello. She's like, "Can you help me?" He's like, "You don't have to." And anyway, she rushes him and he caps her, so she dead. That's great. Obviously gunfire, so everyone comes and sees what's going on. Oh my god, what happened? Then they see partner there. Kim has a little freak out, obviously, because that's her, whatever he is to her. There are also other patients in here too. So there's a grandfather and his granddaughter, and the granddaughter's pregnant, and he's, I guess he's the parental figure. I don't know if the parents are in the picture or not. I can't remember if she says anything, but so there's like a little crew, essentially, of people. I don't remember the granddaughter or grandfather's name. I apologize, but whatever. It doesn't matter. They do come into play, but they're not, the names aren't super important. So anyway, so that's nuts. He goes and throws up. I guess he hasn't killed anyone yet, maybe, or something. I don't know. Or it's just like a traumatic, well, I've never killed someone, so I don't know. But yeah, I assume it's traumatic. So he goes and throws up, and when he gets out, his partner or fellow officer by the name of Mitchell is there, and he's an older guy, so I guess maybe he's the sheriff. Maybe, I don't really know. Anyway, sheriff's there, and he's like, basically says, yeah, so this guy that you brought in is like a cracked out druggy meth head kid who massacred like a whole house of people or something like that. So the house that he ran out of, I guess, I don't know. Anyway, they found like bodies and everything there. No mention of like the cloaked people, so I don't think they know that there's like cult shit happening, which, if I didn't mention it, there's cult shit happening. So anyway, that's that. And then out of nowhere, some people bust in through the front door, and they have a gun and everything, and it's like a father and son combo. And these two, I don't actually think we do learn their names. And if we do, oops. But I'm almost certain that they're specifically never mentioned. Anyway, so I'm just going to call them father and son. Anyway, they break in, and oh, I forgot to mention too, Dan has like a weird vision or something. So he passes out after throwing up, and then he has the weird visions of like a weird barren landscape with like storms, and it's really like murky, that's not the word, gloomy. And then there's like space of like a weird blue nebula or something with stars behind it, and then like a pulsating mass of flesh. And then he wakes up and sees Mitchell and all that shit. Anyway, he doesn't acknowledge that because whatever, it's just a dream, right? Hang on, tea time. All right. Okay. So, sorry. Anyway, father and son crash through, and they're kind of like, they want the junkie guy. So I guess, they know a little bit more than the rest of them do. So they're like, you know, there's these cult people there. The building's surrounded by cult people now. I forgot to mention that. At one point, Dan looks outside and he sees like a cultist who is there, and there's more of them. Anyway, needless to say, they're essentially trapped in the building, and these two come through, and I guess they fought their way through or something, or I don't know. Anyway, so Dan asks him clearly, like, what's going on? And the father's like, fuck if I know. So okay, so they know a little bit more only because they've experienced a little more. They don't actually know what the hell's going on legit. Anyway, there's a doctor there too who's how does he, okay, so the doctor ends up dying because someone stabs him in the throat. I think it's like the meth head guy. So there's like a struggle or something because there's guns pointed, and then the meth head guy has the doctor by the, or no, who does he have by the neck? He has the granddaughter by the neck. Fuck. Oh my god. Anyway, he's got the scalpel to her neck, and there's like a scuffle, and the doctor is like trying to get the knife from him, and he cuts the doctor, and the doctor dies basically there, and they're like, oh shit, this isn't good. Anyway, father and son, or I guess shit calms down enough for like them to exist without wanting to kill each other, which is great. Then they hear screaming, and they go back to... Ah, shit. This was before. Oh my god, I messed this up. Anyway, there's a scene where shit starts getting really weird. They go to the room, and they see that, like, junkie guy. And there's a thing. I don't know what else to call it. It's literally just, like, a thing. It's like a Cronenberg-type looking body mutation mess of... I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be Beverly. Reanimated and mutated into this, like if you ever played Fallout 3, it kind of reminded me of like the Centaurs. I don't know if that helps anyone at all, but kind of like that, but like less tentacly and more just like the blobby mess. It doesn't matter. Body horror. It starts. So they end up shooting the shit out of her, and he kicks the junkie guy. He's handcuffs because he's like freaking out and stuff and causing issues, and they uncuff him and bring him out, and that's when the whole thing happens, blah blah blah. Anyway, this thing ends up coming out, and the father and son end up killing it essentially with a fire axe and a rifle. So very fun, but not before it grabs Mitchell and pulls him off and starts like, I don't know if it's trying to like absorb him into them, because like it has its tentacles through his eyes and mouth and nose and shit. So that's wonderful. Anyway, they, I guess, kill this thing, and they cut the tentacles that are going into Mitchell, but Mitchell's dead. So they cut off Mitchell's head, I guess, so he doesn't reanimate, because that's a thing that happens now, as established with Beverly, which is what this creature is. So that's delightful. Anyway. Oh my god. So there's some backstory of, like, there was another person. Oh yeah, so the doctor, I forgot to mention, he lost his daughter. So him and Allison had kind of bonded, essentially, on, like, mutual loss or whatever. So they're, like, tight. So his death was not, like, an exciting thing for Allison. Needless to say, big ass monster thing. So that kind of caught everyone's attention away from, oh no, people died, which is great. Jesus. So, like I said, there's all these rogue people. They're surrounding the place. They're not advancing, though, which is interesting. So Dan gets this idea. He's like, Allison gets an idea, because the girl starts, like, the beginning of contractions. It's like she's gonna either go into labor or something, and she's like, I can't give her a C-section, like, out there with no supplies, so we have to do it, like, ASAP. So Dan's idea is like, okay, that's great. And she says, I have to go to the other wing of the hospital or whatever, somewhere, like, far in the building still, to get supplies to deal with it. And Dan is like, loving husband mode activated. Okay, cool, but you're not going alone. Wait for me. He turns to father and son and says, listen, I got a shotgun. It's in the front seat of my car. They're like, obviously we're not going out there. There's, like, umpteen 100,000 guys out there. Well, it's not like that. It's like dozens, but there are lots of, like, hooded creepy dudes with knives out there. So anyway, he convinces them to do it, and so they do, and they look, and then the car is further down than what he remembered. It's, like, parked by the trees at the outskirts of the... Anyway, they get to the car, and there's no hooded figures anywhere at the moment, which is great. So they're rummaging through the car. They grab supplies like flares and shit, and I guess probably ammo or something, and the shoddy, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, there's a hooded guy who attacks the son and slices his hand, and then he gets his head blown off by the shotgun, and they quickly all run into the building, and they tend to the son's hand wound, which is delightful. And Dan's looking around for Allison, because they're going to go get supplies, and he turns and says, Kim, where is she? And she's like, she went to go get the supplies. He's like, oh, for fuck's sakes. Because that thing was in there, the thing that was, what was her name? Barb, Brenda, whatever. Beverly. The unimportant nurse. So, I mean, like, if she's in there could be other things too. We don't know. Like, anyway. Long story short, he's like, okay, well, I gotta go find her, obviously. So let's see what happened with Allison, by the way, and all this. So she's going through the dark corridors. Lights are flickering, and the electricity is kind of piss poor. Which is, bonus, obviously. So she's getting the supplies, and as she's doing it, they pan out just a little bit, so you see the doctor, who had just died recently, standing in the doorway, and then they cut. So, okay, that's what happened to her. They don't know all that, so anyway, Dan convinces father and son to come with him. They take the junkie, too, because the junkie was at the house where all the cult stuff was going on, so they assume that he knows what's going on, and he kind of does. He ends up telling them, basically, that he had met a girl on the highway who knew where to score drugs, and so he followed her to this old farmhouse, and it was kind of weird, and, like, the cult people, like, watched him have sex, and then they were, like, killing people, and that's how when he escaped. So yeah, he didn't kill all those people. He just witnessed it, and then the cult people were gone, and he's the only person who has evidence of being there, so that's why he was assumed as the person who did all that shit. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So that's delightful. So they take him with them, even though he doesn't really actually know what's going on. He just has seen more than even the other guys who've seen more than Dan. Cool. So they're over the radio with Kim, and Kim is kind of nervous because she's in training. Like, she doesn't really know how to take care of a childbirth, essentially. She doesn't know what half of the drugs are. She's literally there as, like, a practicum type thing. Anyway, she's all they got. So she stays with the grandfather and granddaughter to try to deal with that. But she's on the radio directing them where to go in the basement to find these supplies or whatever. Anyway, they go into the basement, and it's all, like, derelict, like, shitty looking. like not quite Silent Hill, but like not that much better than Silent Hill. Now I don't know if that particular hospital just has a shitty basement, but I'm assuming there's like some reality warping stuff going on. Anyway, they come to some stairs and they're like on the radio, like, "Hey Kim, is there like a sub basement?" She's like, "What? No, what are you talking about?" And then they're like, "We're going down the stairs." So they go down the stairs because why wouldn't you, right? They did eventually find the room with all the supplies, and they like loaded up stuff or whatever, and no sign of Allison, but there was a sign that she was there, so that's why they're still looking and going deeper into this hellhole of a hospital. So they get to the sub basement and they enter this room, and there's like bodies all over the place, everywhere, mutilated, like arms missing. Some of them have like weird growths and stuff. And then, because, you know, family fun movie, all the bodies start moving and attacking, so they're shooting them. And then there's this, we find out what happens with Allison. She wakes up, comes to, she's kind of like paralyzed, lying on an operating table. Ugh, what's in my eye? Anyway, it doesn't matter. Get out of my eye, whatever you are, dust. Who cares? Where were we? Oh yeah, operating table. And the doctor's standing, he's giving some monologue about like, what is he trying to say? He's like, yeah, like you lost your kid and like we can get it back for you, just like I lost my daughter, and you know, I'm gonna get it back. Essentially, she's like, what are you talking about? And he's going on about things like he used to, what were the exact quotes? Basically, he's saying that it's the next stage of human evolution or something, or like death doesn't have to be final or something like that. Some convoluted Eldritch bullshit. And I say that with love, by the way, because I do love Eldritch stuff. Anyway, that's going on, and he's like not looking physically healthy. Anyway, that's going on. Meanwhile, in this whole situation, the father, as they're fighting these like mutilated bodies, like zones out. I guess he's like entranced and like walks through them out through another door deeper into the thing, and these things are fucked. So they end up fighting the things off, and Dan and the son get separated, and the son finds the father, and father ends up getting got by one of the things, and shit, I jumped ahead. Sorry, we go Dan's story first. So Dan ends up coming to in this room where there's like a triangle on the wall, and the doctor's standing there, and he's even more messed up looking. Like he kind of looks like friggin' what's his name from Stranger Things? Vecna. No, sorry, Vecna looks like him because this predates Stranger Things. But yeah, he looks like almost like identical to that, which is interesting. I'm guessing maybe they took some inspiration from the Void for Vecna. I don't know. Anyway, that has no relevance whatsoever to the story. So he's there, and he's giving another monologue about, what is he saying? Some fucking thing. He's like, I refuse to let death be the end, and the guy's like saying, what do you say? Like, you're just a monster who thinks he's God, and he's like, no, I'm defying God because there are things older than that have blessed me or some shit, and basically I'm gonna, you know, go on and become, I guess, immortal or something. Again, he knows about his own cult more than I do, and it shows, obviously, right? Because what I'm saying is pretty shitty in regards to explaining, but that's the gist of it. So he's worshipping something that's going to grant him basically immortality, or the next stage of evolution that means death has no meaning, or some fucking shit like that. And just at the end of his monologue, we see Dan standing there, and he's like, ugh, and he falls down, and you see pregnant girl who, I forgot to mention, had killed her own grandfather, because I guess she's involved in this cult, and she's like, I'm carrying Dr. Powell's baby, and it's an honor and shit like that. So okay, that's messed up. That's a whole new level. And Kim's just like, what the fuck? Prego girl walks off to, I guess, go have her baby of the doctor and whatever, and Kim is sitting there like, what the fuck, what the fuck, what the fuck? She's trying the radio. The radio's on the ground in some tunnel that was dropped long ago. So she's like, oh fuck. Anyway, Doors at one point were starting to get smashed into, so now there's like a cultist in there, and he like walks by the hallway, and she's like, oh shit, and she runs and she hides in like one of those metal lockers with the combination locks on it or whatnot. But anyway, she's hiding in one of those lockers, and then we cut back to this, and we got Dr. Vecna again doing his monologue, and you see the triangle, the outside of it was already glowing, like the shape of the triangle, but not the center. And he's like, now the void's going to open to me, or something like that. And then, behold, the void opens for him. So, what was once just a flat, dark, gray cement wall starts glowing and lights shining through. So now there's like extremely bright light behind him. The void, I guess, is a pure light or something. I don't know. But that doesn't last long, because good old Dan finds it in himself to... Fuck, I jumped ahead again, too. Shit. Dan finds Allison. I'm so sorry. Fuck me. Before all this, Dan finds Allison, and they have like a little moment, and he sees that she's pregnant, but I guess he's like in the zone, thinking like it's their baby that they lost, and he kisses her, and then like everything fades away, and yeah, Allison is now like a pulsating mass of like flesh and shit, and the doctor, and anyway, then he gets knocked out and wakes up, and then the void thing happens. So sorry, my bad. Anyway, Dan, who has just been stabbed now at this point in the story, manages to get the strength to take a fire axe and put it into the doctor's shoulder, which kind of snaps him out of it a little bit. He's like embracing the void, or whatever you want to say. But then that does nothing, because he's clearly beyond mortal injury at this point, so he chokeholds him. Oh, poor Dan. Can't get a break, eh? And he's saying, like, listen, you can have Allison back, you can have your little girl that you lost back, just give in and basically die. So, I mean, I don't know what I would do in that situation either, but Dan's first instinct is, I had a great idea. So what he does is he ends up pushing the doctor and himself through the void into wherever that is, and it closes up behind him. Meanwhile, fuck, I messed it up again. Shit. Okay, so after the girl stabs Dan, oh my god, I am so sorry. So after the girl stabs Dan, she like is explaining that she's gonna have this baby, and it's basically the doctor is saying that she's going to give birth to his daughter again, and it's going to be some lovely reunion. And all of a sudden the girl collapses and starts looking scared as fuck. Why does this hurt so much? And then her stomach like explodes, and this massive ass thing comes out. Wow, as if I forgot to mention that. You see, this is what you're getting with this channel. This is just the shittiest review. But whatever, you know what? I'm doing it for me because it's fun, and if people have entertainment of any kind, then that's a bonus. Regardless, if you're still watching, I'll finish this off. So we got this creature that burst out, and it's like stepping on people's heads and shit, and that's when father and son come in with the rifle and shoot, and this thing it distracts them basically, and they have a duel with this thing, and the father gets got and throws the son throws like a flare onto a bunch of like rubbing alcohol or lighter fluid or something that the father doused himself and the creature with, which is the daughter, and it boom in flames, and son escapes through a vent while all this is happening. And then we have the showdown with the axe in the shoulder and going through the void and all that shit. And the void closes, and then the son is like the only one left, and he goes upstairs and he looks and he sees the grandfather of the girl dead, and he's like, oh fuck, what happened here? He sees a dead cultist, which is in the room that was coming after Kim, and there's like a fire extinguisher beside his smushed in head, so I guess Kim smoked him in the head with the fire extinguisher. Good on her, you go girl power. And he hears noises in the closet, and he opens the closet, and she's about to hit him with an axe and realizes it's him, and she's like, oh god, and they hug, and it's like, is it over? He's like, and that's great. So all's well that ends well for those two, at least, I suppose. The world seems to get back to normal. The sky's nice. It's like starting to be dawn and all that stuff. And then we cut out, and then we cut to this weird alien landscape. again, that he had seen in his visions. He had a couple of visions, sorry, I don't remember if I mentioned the second one, but anyway, this is the landscape, and then it pans and shows him and Allison, like completely human, standing on this landscape looking up at the sky, and it zooms out and shows her looking, and it's the exact same like thundery landscape, and then like it slowly pans up and you see this giant floating ass pyramid with like storms behind it, and then they hold each other's hands, and then that's the end. So yeah, that's the story. Sorry again about my very pathetic lack of like continuity flow, but my little smooth reptile brain can only do so much, right? Aye. That being said, let's talk about it. What did I think of this movie? Well, again, if you got anything out of my shitty explanation, then, you know, good for you. But essentially, I love, like, eldritch stuff. Like, Lovecraftian, weird kind of shit like that. So right away, when I read the premise of it, it's like, even the title, like, The Void, and you see the picture, and you're like, okay, this is going to be some Lovecraftian shit. And lo and behold, it kind of was, a little bit. The practical effects, which there were all of, I'm pretty sure, because I don't think this had a very large budget, but the practical effects are very, very entertaining. It reminded me a little bit of... I'm trying to think of a good example. Like, some of it reminded me of, like, The Thing, like John Carpenter's The Thing. Actually, it reminded me a lot of that. That crossed again with, like I said, if you played Fallout 3, the Centaurs. So you take that and you mix it with The Thing, and that's kind of like the creature-y thing that we see at certain points in the film. As far as gore goes, like, it's not like overly gory, but there's gore, so you'll be good for that. Acting wasn't too bad. The cinematography was quite nice, especially like the without spoiling anything, the non-immediate settings that they show clips of are quite nice. Very cool stuff. There's like a clip of like a nebula and stuff. I don't think that's giving a spoiler or anything, but like there's a clip of a nebula that looks really cool. And like the landscapes of like that part. Other than that, I mean, they're in a hospital for the most time. Again, that's not a spoiler. I don't count that as a spoiler. I'm not giving away plot points. So you can only do so much with like a setting like that, despite going to different parts of it or like showing different areas. It's a hospital, so I mean, it feels a little bit claustrophobic, which is good though, because in these kind of movies you want that unsettling, like, yeah, we're kind of stuck here, which, you know, when shit like that's happening, I mean, what are you gonna do? Like, where do you go? So anyway, that was good. That captured the mood. Again, the effects are the thing that like I really enjoyed the most. The more otherworldly element effects were also quite good. I enjoyed that. The sound was very suiting to each scene. I don't recall really if there was really a soundtrack, particular like music. I do remember a lot of scenes with like weird ominous droning type sounds, which again work for this kind of a film, so that was good. Yeah, I mean, it's an Eldritch movie. Like, it's horrifying cosmic horror type stuff, sort of. What do I mean by sort of? Well, if you watch the spoiler part, then you'll understand. If you haven't, then you'll find out when you watch the movie, I guess. My general mindset is, if you do like this kind of stuff, it is a fun watch. It doesn't go balls to the wall crazy like some other films, like Annihilation and like The Color of Space, I think, take it a little bit beyond The Void. But again, for the budget they had, and they did what they could, and it's like a kind of closed area story anyway, it really worked for what they had going. Now, all that out of the way, I guess I should rate it, shouldn't I? Okay, let's do that. Well, again, I'm a little bit of a sucker for these kind of movies, so some bias may be in this, but I'm going to give it a 6.614. Sure, 6.614. That's what I'm giving it. Out of 10, that is my official score. I did enjoy it. Again, it's not the most groundbreaking film in the history of time, but for what it is, it's enjoyable. I'll probably watch it again. Again, just because I like this kind of stuff, and there isn't like a swarm of like Lovecraftian cosmic adjacent stuff. So I'll add this to my list of those that I enjoy. And yeah, honestly, check it out if you like that kind of stuff. It's not really a slow burn either. I forgot to mention that, but things happen pretty quickly. It's an hour and a half pretty much on the nose. So, I mean, you're not going to be sitting around waiting. You know, they're not taking a story that can be told in an hour and a half and stretching it out to 2 hours and 45 minutes or something. So you're good there. If you just want a quick film, get in, go what the fuck, and get out, this is good. Super hot date movie, I would say. Definitely. Yeah, I think that's about all I have to say about this one. Really enjoyed it. And yeah, I'll watch it again, and you should watch it or watch it again. That's my thoughts. All right, peace. Bye.